You think you're fucking with, I'm the fucking boss.
Now imagine this is you, and these are all the bad things that have happened to you. So each one represents a memory of traumatic experiences that you've been through.
So notice how this clinical psychologist is talking about the person who has the traumas. So why is it that Alicia gets to disclose the traumas to millions of people when the traumas aren't hers? They're the children in her cares.
6 of our kids are adopted from foster care and unfortunately endured early childhood neglect and trauma. Because of this, several of them do have lingering food issues. Several of our children will and have binged to the point of throwing up food if allowed to eat. 9 of our 10 children have special needs. The majority of them have anxiety and ADHD and sensory processing disorder. Adopted ones add in fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, and a few of them with, actually I think all of them, PTSD, a few with bipolar disorder. Biological son has autism and gastroparesis, as well as oral dysphagia, and that's Bodhi, the 4-year-old. And then the twins and James also battle a bunch of GI disorders such as encopresis and irritable bowel syndrome and polyps. Jason recently had to have a colonoscopy. And the twin set that we adopted in 2019 was from a residential treatment facility. These are housing units for children whose therapeutic and behavioral needs are too intense to live safely in a home. Children in these placements often require a lot of therapy and med management to help them be happy and healthy.
And as you go about your life, the thing seems like it's overflowing. Memories just keep falling out when you don't want them to.
So what's sad is these children don't get a choice to put their traumas in the past or even work on them because Alicia exploits their traumas. She tells millions of people everything there is to know about these children's traumas.
When the twins first came into foster care, they knew there was something going on just by physically looking at them because they were malnourished and they have macroglossia. So at that time, their tongues wouldn't stay in their mouth. They have ADHD, sensory processing disorder, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. They go back and forth on an autism diagnosis for them. They have a sleep disorder. They sleep maybe 3 hours a night, even with a ton of medicine to help them sleep. And anxiety disorders, as well as attachment disorder and defiant disorder for Jordan. Parenting 10 children with special needs means there are a lot of medications, vitamins, and supplements to sort out. While some have medical needs like gastroparesis, many of our children adopted from foster care battle bipolar genetics combined with their PTSD. I believe that mental health needs are just as important as medical needs. And while society chooses to hold a stigma against mental health medication, I will do whatever it takes for my children to be happy. The most tragic thing that happened to one of our children that we adopted from foster care is that they were taken from their home as a toddler for suspected physical abuse. He then spent 4 years in an abusive and neglectful foster home. His biological mom kept telling the workers, "Why does he have bruises all over him?" 4 years of added abuse at the hands of the system, who is supposed to protect him. His PTSD score is double the score you need for a qualifying diagnosis. 8 years later, and he still flinches if we move too fast near him, like we're going to hit him. The system needs to wake up and pay attention. Trust their gut and protect these kids. So for a lot of the kids that we've cared for in foster care, they have the combination of bipolar genetics, trauma and neglect, alcohol and drug use in utero, which has caused brain damage, low IQ, executive functioning issues, cognitive issues, developmental delays. And then you add in multiple removals from homes. These kids don't know whether they're coming or going anymore.
Emotionally overwhelming you, and you can't seem to focus on the rest of your life. So what can we do about it? Well, I'm a psychologist, and this is what happens in trauma therapy. First of all, a therapist would gear you up with all the skills that you need to manage just how painful those memories can be.
I would really like to know what skills these children have to deal with their traumas. It can't be Alicia just talking about them on her social media page. There has to be more to it. If not, it's a serious problem. It's almost like Alicia is dealing with her own traumas and her own issues by using the children's medical conditions and traumas to maybe work through hers, because I don't see how any of this oversharing is helping the children. It can't possibly be helping. If anything, it's making matters worse.
I wanted to share with you guys how we help our kids work through emotions in a safe manner. For example, last night one of our kiddos talked to their biological sister. They woke up this morning quite upset. They didn't know how to handle this emotion, so they spent hours screaming and crying. We were unable to successfully stop this behavior until we had this child draw their emotions. This child does very literal drawings. Now, some of our other kiddos might just scribble across the page or maybe draw a picture of something. It's a way to take those emotions that are bottled up inside and get them out onto paper in a visual form. From there, we were able to talk over with the child what these emotions mean and why they are feeling them. So instead of feeling confused by their emotions, this is able to give them a concrete visual and help them process so they can hopefully move on with a happier day. We have found several medications and supplements that have been wonderful. Clonidine. I'm going to say it again. Clonidine. Resperdal, Tegretol, CBD gummies, melatonin, and also making sure that they are completely structured, routined, and in a sport and musical instrument. All of that combined seems to really help minimize the explosive rage sessions. Hope that helps.
So I think what was happening in the beginning when Alicia felt it was her right to expose these children's traumas and medical conditions, followers were asking, like, how do you manage it? You know, what type of help are these children getting? How are you supporting them in therapies and stuff? And the only videos I've seen where she's explaining this is, for one, she has them draw pictures if they're happy or sad or whatnot, and then giving them a bunch of medication, and even naming some of the medication. But she never says that they're in therapy, they're in counseling, they're seeing clinical psychologists, none of that. So as I've seen from this clinical psychologist, I believe her name is Dr. Julie, you know, she kind of explains it very well, that it's a process. And especially when you're dealing with trauma, there's a specific treatment for that. And I just fear that Alicia, even making all the money she hasn't given these children the proper counseling and therapy that they need.
And then you take one memory at a time, carefully open it up at your own pace, and allow you to process that memory. And then you can neatly fold it up. You do the same with the next one and the next one until what you're left with is a neat little pile of memories that fit neatly at the bottom, leaving you more capacity to focus on the life that you want to have today.
What's sad is I don't think these children ever had the chance to process any of their memories and traumas, because Alicia took each and every memory, you know, that these children have had, and she made a TikTok video about them and exposed that to her followers. So how are these children supposed to go back and take those traumas that are now online and work through them? Do you get what I'm saying? The way that this should have been handled when these children came into her home, instead of taking them and their medical conditions and their traumas and exploiting them, she should have had each child working on these independently off social media, in private, with a clinical psychologist or a counselor or any trained medical provider. Now what? How do these children come back from this? Especially as they get older and they get into relationships and they get out into the real world. How will she ever be able to fix what she has done?
We do not and have not made any money off of any of our news appearances, articles, or podcasts. Not even the People magazine article. We do not ask for money ever. Our Venmo and PayPal are linked in our link tree because people wanted to donate to our foster care toy drive.
Okay, so I wanted to show that video again where she's telling everyone that they're not making any money doing this. And I know it was that video was probably about 2 or 3 years old, but trust me, even 2 and 3 years ago, they were making a lot of money. Maybe not from the podcast or the articles or other things like that, but she's always been making money off her TikTok and her YouTube, okay? Even more so now. You see, I attached their recent Social Blade. They're making well over probably $1 million a year. She's sly, right? She's not saying that she's doing brand deals, and every other one of her YouTube shorts is view products and their sponsorships. That's why she shops every week and fills her garage with shit she's just gonna throw away next week. She's a con artist. Her heart has always been in the wrong place. It's still in the wrong place, and I can't wait for the day where she's off of social media.